The Gundam franchise is a deep franchise. We're talking about 40 years of history with a rabbit hole of shows, manga, novels, and OVAs to get into if you really want to immerse yourself into the universe. A majority of this content ties to the storyline of the Universal Century, aka the 1 Year War, that ironically has so many titles to keep up with that it'll make your head spin. Tracking down some of these gems can be difficult if you are interested because the localization of the core Universal Century has been so rare. But thanks to Right Stuf and their publisher Nozomi Entertainment, that dream of owning a UC is now a reality, as you can find a vast majority of the major titles legally for purchase on their site. Be sure to check out the link in the description of this video if you would like to purchase the series as featured in this vid, or to indulge in a vast selection of Gundam greatness over at Right Stuf. Be sure to check them out as well. I'd also like to send a big thank you to Right Stuf for providing me with a physical copy of our feature series for this review. With that being said, the chosen title for this review is from the Alternate Century, a Gundam timeline that acknowledges how daunting the Universal Century is, and thus offers fans and newcomers an alternate or a standalone universe across multiple titles, where they're not locked into years of commitment. And even though this series is surprisingly approaching a 15-year anniversary, the atmosphere and the message conveyed in this series still holds up and hits home today. For today's feature, I'm reviewing 2007's Mobile Suit Gundam 00. Gundam 00 takes place in the year of 2307 AD, as in our timeline, the world that you and me live in. And this is a franchise first because once again, the franchise as a whole either takes place in the infamous Universal Century or just a far future that has no carbon footprint of where it exists. And by bringing the Gundam franchise to our reality sets the tone of why I feel Gundam 00 is almost a definitive jumping on point for a modern Gundam series, especially one that captures the narrative of the world we live in today, and especially when it starts to cover what the factions are fighting for. Gundam 00 centers on humanity searching for a new source of power after all of the fossil fuels have been depleted. Through the sheer power of science fiction and technology, a near infinite source of energy now exists in space via 3 solar power generators by way of orbital elevators used to access them. The owners of the 3 elevators consist of 3 factions that are now the superpowers of the world. The AEU, which is Africa and Europe, the Human Reform League of Russia, China, and India, and the Union, which is the United States. As these 3 factions fight among themselves to increase their power over energy, of course, the rest of the countries on Earth suffer with poverty and war just to survive. In the midst of all this, a privately armed organization enters the fray equipped with highly advanced mobile suits called Gundams. Piloted by chosen war-torn individuals called Gundam Meisters, the name of this group is Celestial Being. And their goal is to intervene in all war, forcing all nations to play nice, share their toys, and quit fighting, or they're gonna destroy all of them and just make them put their toys away anyway, and probably take them too. However, this is a very ambitious goal that often lands them in the seat as the enemy as well, because even though they're fighting for a just cause, this is only making the opposition gear up more to defeat them. But more importantly, their actions still have heavy implications of collateral damage for the rest of the world that are powerless and just on the sidelines of this fight. With that being said, Gundam 00 also has a lot of parallels to the fan favorite series Gundam Wing. At base, both Gundam Wing and Gundam 00 center on a group of Gundam pilots distributed to intervene and stop war by force and overpower suits. However, 00 manages to do it better and with a more modern approach while fixing some of the lingering problems that existed in Wing. The biggest fix would be the main character, 00's Setsuna FCA, and don't forget the FCA is just as quiet and stoic as Hiro Yui from Wing. But as a character, he's more relatable and given a story that's more compelling as he's a child soldier trying to find peace from his dark past. Celestial Being as a group is also much more entertaining, even if them being more likable is debatable. Our Gundam Meisters are an interesting mix of personalities whose differences oddly enough strengthen each other. For friendship doesn't always prevail in this series, you could argue that they might even hate each other at times. Like on Stratos, my favorite of the bunch is the elder or the big brother of the crew and the resident sniper. His always cool demeanor is usually the voice of reason and mentorship, especially for Setsuna. While Tieria, for example, is the most evasive of the bunch, who has such a weird and eerie attachment to the AI system Veda that he's even contemplated screwing everybody over just to please it. And then there's Alleluia, who's calm, cool, and insane due to a split personality, whose name, just as what you thought I said it was, has a serious case of PTSD, and if we start to break down that character, that would be a video in itself. And although the rest are mostly side characters, you'll end up caring for some of them a little bit more than others, and some you just won't care about at all. But again, fixing problems from Wing, Marina Ishmael for example, the Diplomatic series serves more of an inviting purpose to invoke change in Setsuna than Relena Peacecraft from Wing, who was really just in the way. Politics and moral gray is the driving force for any Gundam series. However, 00 also didn't feel like it beat me over the head with politics. Too much. Of course, the battle of ideals is still there. It's Gundam after all, but I understand everyone isn't like me who wants to see all sides to the war and relate to them. Overall, you want Celestial Being to succeed while other factions come off quite vile in their plans. It's reasons like this that I feel this is a good modern starting point for the Gundam franchise. It's also a more grounded approach of warring countries set in an actual reality that's easier to take in versus an overall narrative that people on Earth just need to migrate to space to evolve in order to achieve liberation. Animation is another strong suit for this series, if not the best point. Sunrise has never been a slouch when it comes to animation, even if you take into consideration that in the past a lot of scenes and cuts were reused to pad production. 00 as a series from 2007 offers some of the best visuals in all of Gundam. And even though Code Geass 2 years prior was when they mastered the fusion of hand-drawn animation mixed with CG and modern practices, 00 took the ball of perfection and ran with that style even further, thus offering some of the most clean and original production moving forward. And if any cuts were reused, I honestly couldn't tell. That's how well animated Gundam 00 is. 00 is also the first Gundam series to be broadcast in true HD, so if you watch it today, it doesn't feel like it's a product of the early 2000s. 00 is also by no means the perfect series. There are a few things that drive it down as well. A staple in the Gundam franchise for the suits is to get upgraded and become even more broken in the second half. 00 introduces Trans Am mode, which makes the suits faster. I mean like after image fast. It makes a lot of sense for some suits. But for a suit like Tierra's Virtue, why would you need to be faster for a suit that's basically a tank? I mean, I can see if Nadale, which is the second form of it, was more of the secondary form for it, but I don't know, it just felt like we only seen that suit a handful of times, and making a big suit like the Virtue faster is just kind of a waste. I know I'm nitpicking a little bit, but I'm just pointing out some of the things that I didn't like about the series. Or how about a majority of Season 2? Now don't get me wrong, it was still entertaining. In fact, Season 2 gave us the action we may have craved from Season 1 because the fights were more team versus team suit action. However, Season 1 did a better job overall with finding a balance of story, ideals, and battle. Season 2 tends to go off the rails, and a lot of times it felt like they just needed to commit to 50 episodes, so they just took things to another level. In fact, it leaves you with more questions than answers. And the movie Awakening of the Trailblazer, which is supposed to act as a conclusion to it all, felt more like it was just an action-filled love letter dressed in a popcorn summer film, versus the closure that we actually needed for the series. And for that, I feel that the way Season 1 ended could have been very well the way we could have just left the series off as a conclusion, even though it left things a little bit open-ended. In conclusion, if you're a newcomer to the Gundam franchise, I recommend giving 00 a shot. Even though Iron-Blooded Orphans is more current, if your heart isn't ready or used to how somber older Gundam series can be, it can bring you down at some points. 00 isn't perfect, but it has a lot to offer the fresh eyes of the franchise to give them a fresh look or a better look at what's in store when it comes to the vast war-driven world, and it will leave you wanting more too. And because of those reasons, I highly recommend this series. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. And once again, a big thank you to Right Stuf for the opportunity to talk about this series. If you would like to purchase Gundam 00 for yourself or any other Gundam series, please click on my personalized link in the description to do so. It not only helps me, but it also helps Right Stuf and it helps the anime business as well. Right Stuf has you covered for all your Gundam media needs. They also have a vast selection of manga, figures, and other things as well, so be sure to stop by and check them out. And on that note, it's your boy Scott signing out. See you soon.